Okay, hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm going to try to put these out once a week, so hopefully I keep that trend going, but I wanted to just share some of the things that I've been enjoying in my life, again, to try to inject a little bit of positivity back into the internet, which can seem so negative these days. But today, what do I want to talk about? I want to talk a little bit about gaming. It's something that's always brought joy to me. It's been one of my hobbies since I was a little kid. Um, it's something I've sort of been off and on with throughout my life, depending on how busy I've been or what my other priorities were. But I've been getting into it a little bit more recently, and I kind of just wanted to share some of my gaming setup today and some of the games that I've been playing recently. Um, to go over my setup a little bit, first thing that you'll see back here, of course, is my MacBook. I know a lot of you are probably saying, ugh, Macs are no good for gaming. Um, it's true, they don't have the same library as Windows machines do, and I did lose access to some of my games when I made the switch to my MacBook. Although I love my MacBook, I don't regret it. But the big thing that my MacBook allows me to play is World of Warcraft. It's been one of my go-to games for many, many years now. And this system plays World of Warcraft very well. So I've been enjoying the latest expansion recently, which at the time of me making this, the latest expansion is The War Within. Um, yeah, and I've been enjoying that expansion a lot. Maybe I'll make a separate video later just to give my deep dive thoughts on that game. But this is sort of the computer element of my gaming setup. Next, probably can't see it because I'm blocking it, but down here I do have my console, my Xbox Series S, which, again, I went with the Series S over the Series X, again, mostly because I was trying to save money when I bought it, and it fits a bit better into my setup. Of course, I'm playing mostly in my room. I'm using my 27-inch Philips monitor as my main gaming monitor. There's nothing special about that. It only goes up to 75 hertz. It's only 1080p, but it works well enough. It gives me a good enough picture for what I like to do. And so, yeah, the Series S not as powerful as the Series X, but considering I don't have a super high-end monitor to plug it into, it works just fine for me. The Series S is also what I've been playing a couple of my most recent titles on. So a couple of the games that I've finished recently. First one is Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. So that's a newer title that released very recently. It's a shooter set in the Warhammer 40K universe, which I'll admit, when I started playing it, I did not know that much about Warhammer 40K. I was a bit familiar with, I guess maybe you could say, like the classic Warhammer universe. I played a lot of the MMO Warhammer Age of Reckoning when I was younger. I really enjoyed that one. That's set in sort of more of a high fantasy universe, whereas Warhammer 40K takes that universe and just sort of puts it into the far future. Again, I might be saying things incorrect about these franchises because I don't know a lot about them. Hopefully, I don't say anything too wrong that triggers too many people. But I really enjoy Space Marine 2. It's, like I say, it's a shooter with some melee combat put in. Again, you basically have three weapon types that you use. You have your sort of big machine gun type weapon, a smaller sidearm, and then a melee weapon. And the story, I thought, was really well delivered in it. I mean, it's a shooter story, so I don't consider them, say, as deep or as, say, a role-playing game, which is what I play mostly. But I do occasionally enjoy a good shooter, and Space Marine 2 is that. It gives you a lot of really good-feeling gameplay. There are these really epic setups where you're fighting a ton of enemies on screen at once, and yeah, it's a really enjoyable experience. It's the kind of game that you can get into and play for, an hour or a couple of hours and without having to think too much about it. Like if you're playing a role-playing game, which is what I go to mostly, those are games that Maybe you get to a dialogue and, oh my God, which dialogue choice do I use? Because I don't want to make a wrong choice that I'll regret 10 hours later in the gameplay. Shooters, especially a game like Space Marine 2, you don't have to worry about that too much. So I really did enjoy my time with Space Marine 2. I would recommend it. I only played the campaign. I didn't really do any of the online multiplayer or things like that. Again, for those of you who might be new to the channel, I do live and work in China, so sometimes getting an online connection for some of these games is a little bit hit or miss. So while I don't mind playing single-player campaigns, sometimes you can get disconnected from the online portion of it, so I avoid that more or less. And that was kind of true with Space Marine 2, because even when I was playing just a single-player story, I would still get notifications that, oh, I lost the connection to the server. I mean, I was still able to play, but just not doing any of the online stuff. But that is what it is. The other game that I finished very recently was Jedi Survivor. So this was the second game in sort of this, I guess, Cal Kestis trilogy is going to be now. The first game was Fallen Order, which I played a few years back. I didn't get Jedi Survivor right away when it came out, but I recently downloaded that through Game Pass and gave it a playthrough. Again, I enjoy this trilogy that EA is making. Cal Kestis is a decent character. I saw on threads that apparently he's going to show up in a live-action series at some point, so I'll be curious to see what happens there. If you're not familiar with the series, it's basically you're playing as Cal Kestis, so was a Jedi apprentice who survived Order 66 and is now going on his own adventures throughout the galaxy. The gameplay, of course, is known for its lightsaber combat, as well as puzzle solving and kind of more platformer, kind of like as a platformer, because you're running around, jumping, trying to navigate certain areas with different kinds of traversal skills that you have. For me, I like the gameplay somewhat. I like the lightsaber combat the most. The traversal, because you have to run around, run on walls, look for places to use your grappling hook. That's the part of the game where I probably get annoyed with the most, just because sometimes it's hard to see exactly, at least for me at least, it was hard to see exactly what I was supposed to run on or how I was supposed to get across a certain area. And so then I would die a few times on that, just trying to figure out what I was supposed to do. But again, that might just be a me problem. But that is the kind of part of the gameplay that annoys me the most, especially with some of the auto-saving. It kind of bugged me in this game, because you might have these long stretches where you have to do a certain number of jumps or climbs almost perfectly to get to the next spot. But if you fail it halfway through, then you have to do the entire thing over again. And some of those longer sequences, I thought maybe with the autosave they could have broken it up into shorter segments. So there were a few points where I was really starting to get annoyed with myself in this game. But the story is very good. I just basically did the story. I didn't do a lot of the side content, again, mostly because I didn't want to annoy myself too much by doing all of the traversal 20 times over. So I was just willing to annoy myself just enough to do the single player game, to do the single player storyline. And I think it's fine. I think it's good. I'll look forward to the next one that comes out. I'll be curious to see what they do in the follow-up game. So that's kind of what I've been playing most recently. As far as the rest of my setup goes, the other thing that I use for gaming, I got this over the summer when I was in America, but was my Steam Deck OLED. One of the reasons that I got this is because I did want a handheld. I was starting to get very interested in this format. Seeing things like the Steam Deck that came out, Nintendo Switch, ROG has their Ally, Lenovo has the Legion Go. I mean, there are so many of them that come out these days. And I did like the idea of having something pretty portable that can play a lot of games on it. Like I say, my MacBook, of course, I can run a few games on it, but not many. And there were some games on Steam that I was playing on PC that I just lost access to and I made the move. So I can get most of them back on this Steam Deck OLED. And the other thing too, again, is it kind of allows me access to some Sony PlayStation games that I can't really play because I don't have a PlayStation. But some of them like Spider-Man, God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, they've all been ported to computer and PC, which means I can play them on my Steam Deck OLED. I played through Spider-Man while I was home for the summer. That was a really good game. And I thought it looked really good on this screen. Even something like God of War, which I picked up on sale, looks great on this screen. And the controls feel decent. It's not exactly the same layout as, say, an Xbox Series S controller would look like, but it's pretty comfortable in the hand, and the controls feel good. And so I do like taking this with me when maybe I'm taking a quick trip out of town with the family, or just going somewhere for a day. It's nice to fit in my bag, and then if I have the time and I want something to do, then I have this right there. So as far as this goes, I started playing through Horizon Zero Dawn, which I've been enjoying. I haven't finished that yet. I also need to finish God of War 2, so I haven't finished yet. So I hope to finish those some point soon. So that's the other main thing in my gaming sort of lineup that I use. Of course, I do have things like my iPhone, my iPad. I don't game too much on these. To be honest, most games on the App Store I just don't get into because they might be free at start, but then they quickly throw the in-app purchases at you, and I just get annoyed by that. One thing that I want to try is maybe doing some more emulating on these, like maybe with RetroArch. I want to give that a try, just to maybe try playing some older games from, say, the NES or PS1 eras. So maybe, I'll give that a try and let you know how that goes. But anyway, that's kind of my gaming lineup. That's what I've been playing. Maybe the next game on my radar that's coming out in a month that I want to play is Dragon Age Veilguard, so I'm looking forward to that one. But feel free to let me know in the comments, what systems do you use to play? What games have you been enjoying lately? And if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, feel free, again, to like and subscribe and leave a comment. All right, I will catch you guys in the next one. All right, bye-bye.